Hi, everyone. Welcome into today's webinar. I'll let everybody join in. Looks like we're getting some people joining in now. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So hi, everyone. My name is Rhiannon Williams. I'm a product owner here at TLC with a focus on cataloging and item maintenance and just all things metadata and technical services. Um, Kim, unfortunately, was not able to join us today, so we will be rolling through this webinar solo. Um, so just me today, but hopefully I'll be able to answer any questions that may come up. And if there's anything that may need Kim's expertise, we'll make sure that she gets those questions after our session today. So just as a heads up, this webinar is being recorded and the recording will be available later today or in early next week. And we do have a Q&A box to put in any questions you may have. Feel free to talk in the chat with other participants as well. And we can go ahead and get started with our topic today. And today we're talking all about templates and how to make them and how to use them and some tips and tricks along the way within LS2 cataloging. So like I said, we're going to talk about, as far as templates, why to use them and some of the benefits they have, how to use them, as well as how to create them, and then a couple of resources that are available to you. Some things that Kim and I have created, and then some other things available on LS Community that we have from previous webinars and some resources we have put together in the past. So let's talk a little bit about the template title records and why they're useful. So if you are familiar with traditional MARC editors, you may have used templates in the past if you were doing original cataloging for materials. So templates make it a lot faster for creating new title records. And it almost sort of mimics that copy cataloging process, but if you are doing original cataloging. Or it can also be useful for creating new versions or the next iteration in a series, for example, that you may have very specific information included in there. Because as we know, cataloging is a very dynamic sort of environment, and different catalogers may catalog the same material quite a bit differently, depending on their patrons or their students or customers that are accessing this material. So a school librarian may catalog a picture book differently than a public librarian, for instance. So using template title records can be helpful for speeding up that process for adding new materials, especially if you have things in there that are tailored specifically to your library or institution's cataloging practices. And template title records can also be really helpful for cataloging unique materials that may be difficult to find a record to copy catalog off of. And this is very helpful for things like Library of Things items. So any of those odd materials, cake pans or board games and things like that, that it may be difficult to find a existing MARC record for that particular item, that physical object that you're cataloging. But you can also always use a template title record to give you a head start on some of the information you may want to include in there. And this can also be useful for things like kits. If you are cataloging lots of different, say, STEM kits, or I've got some example templates in here for like a geocaching kit. So if that's a similar style of item, or that you are cataloging somewhat frequently, or you've put in a lot of effort into creating this really robust, well described title record, you can always create a new template from that can make that process for the next time you have to catalog something even faster and smoother. And it's also useful for things like unique equipment things. So things like Chromebooks or hotspots, iPads, Computer carts is another thing if, especially if you are trying to if you are cataloging those types of equipments like laptop carts and want to be able to check out those items to teachers or to staff. As equipment changes over time, as you get new equipment, having a template already together for that specific kind of material can be helpful. And also using template title records helps standardize that record creation process. And as part of the template title records that I'll be sharing today, we've included some helpful notes for some of the information to add or change. And I'll show some of that process of when you are creating a template from a title record you already have on some of those things to point out of things you want to add or change from the template, and some of those little hints you can give to either yourself in the future who's using this template or any other catalogers who are using these templates in the future within your system. So let's talk about creating a title template, and that can either be from an existing title within your collection in your database in LS2 cataloging, or it could also be creating a title template from an external MARC editor like Bibliophile or MARCEdit, and then bringing it into LS2 cataloging via import. So I want to give a couple of those tips and tricks as a heads up, and then I'll kind of show them in process, or like as we go through the process of creating those new titles. So when creating a new title template, it can be helpful to use that sort of identifying keyword in the title. For all of the templates that I've created and I'm sharing today, I've used the word template in brackets at the beginning of the main title. And that's a quick and easy way for me to find all of those relevant title records via a local search, or searching in a title space, or using advanced search as well. And I'll show some of that process of searching your collection of title records that you have already created, or once you have these brought into your system by importing the ones I'm providing today, or by the ones that you create, how you can find those in the future. Some of the other sort of tips I recommend are creating a template title space and kind of storing them all together there. That can be a really easy way to be able to find them in the future if you want to sort of just group them all together, and so that you can easily see what templates you have. And since title spaces are accessible across all users in a system, other staff members are able to go into that template title space and see which ones are available in there. Another tip is to use a local verified series title, for instance, of like templates or something like that, and that can be useful to group all of them together. So these template records, they don't have any items associated with them typically, so that can be a benefit for your library, so that these title records are only going to show up in LS2 cataloging, and also, I guess, in LS2 staff, but they only show up in the staff-facing modules. They're never going to show up in LS2 pack, since there's no items associated with them. So there's no worry of creating all of these excess template records and then possibly them showing up in LS2 pack. So using a local verified series title of like template collection, or your library branches templates, if you have specific ones for a particular branch or a school, using a series title to group them together can be helpful for finding them via advanced search. And then when you are using advanced search to find a specific template, using that keyword that you use in the title, like the template in brackets, and then also narrowing it down by title format can be helpful, because you may have a wide variety of template records in there depending on the types of materials that you're cataloging. But if, for instance, you are looking for a piece of equipment or something that you would include in your library of things, like you're looking for a laptop template, then limiting that by format to object can be helpful for narrowing down those results. So now want to jump in here to our LS2 cataloging. So this is a 5.8.0 build. Actually, this is like an in progress build of some of the new things coming in the future. So if anything looks a little bit different, it's probably something coming in the coming release in release 2 of this year. But I want to show first the process of creating a template from a record that you already have in your system, because this is likely going to be a very common use case if you have a particular title record that you really like the information that's in there and you want to speed up the process for creating new future versions of a similar type of item. And one instance that can be really helpful are in some unique materials like manga. So for instance here, I've got a copy. Oh, my camera wants to do it. So I've got a copy of volume 8 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is a manga. And so I've already cataloged this particular title. And so I have volume 8 here, and I've got a bunch of great information in here. And I have also volume 9 that I need to catalog as well. But I've done a lot of the work already in creating this volume 8 version, and a lot of the same information is going to be applicable for one volume to the next. So I can easily create a template from this one, and then all future volumes that I catalog for this series, and it's fairly popular, so I know I'm going to have future versions that I want to catalog, so I can create a template of this and make that process faster in the future. So I'll show you what that looks like. So the place we want to start is from a title space. And I've already searched for this particular title and added it here. But the way, if you have a title added to a title space that you want to use as a template, the way you want to do that is to use this More Actions button. And we want to search match again. And so this gives us our search results here that lets us tab through all of our Z3950 and ItsMark subscription if you have access to ItsMark for searching, for copy cataloging. But our results are always going to pull back our local results first. And this is the title that I've already searched for and added in my title space. But instead of selecting that select title, we want to choose review title. And it's the same process you do if you're looking at different Z3950 or ItsMark sources for copy cataloging to see if you want to select this title. And this process allows us to have access to this other button called copy title. And so when you select copy title, it gives you a little pop-up of saying, are you sure that you want to copy it to a new title? And it does let you know that the source title does remain in the system. We give this pop-up as a heads up for catalogers, because the philosophy behind Library.Solution and Library.Solution for Schools is that you have a single title record for a particular like manifestation of a material, so all of your paperback books of this particular edition are all going to be together in this. And maybe all of your hardbacks are going to be there together as well. So we don't want a whole bunch of duplicates of those, but in this instance, where you're creating a template and these aren't going to be duplicates, you're just trying to save on some of that effort, you do want to make sure that you hit OK. So we create a new copy. And a new local copy of a title is identified here in the source within the title grid here in a title space. So we have a local copy or a local sourced record, meaning that this is one that's already published, and we have a copy here. And it does let us know that it's an unpublished copy as well. So now I can go ahead and hit edit title and jump right into the title editor here. And I can create my template record out of this. So for how I have set up this title, and it may be different depending on how you like to catalog manga or graphic novels. Some of these can change, whether if you want to put like the number of part and title of part here for series information or for the subtitle. But for this material and how my patrons like it to be displayed, I use subtitle and alternate title. And I know I'm always going to have a subtitle for this particular type of record, since Jujutsu Kaisen is the the series title and the main title of the material, but it has a subtitle for the title of that particular volume. And so I know I'll always want to add that information. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the word edit here, and adding in a sort of like keyword for some of these fields will clue me in when I use this template in the future that, oh, I need to make sure I add a subtitle and an alternate title. Unlike in some like traditional MARC record editors, where you can add in blank fields with just those like subfield delimiters and things to clue you in on which field you want to enter. Due to the nature of this like form interface and the fact that we don't want a bunch of empty fields in MARC records typically, I can't just leave this blank and move on, because it will give me my validation here that's saying that, a title is required in this field. We don't want it empty. So I'm going to add in the word edit. I like using edit. I also use add or change, whatever sort of works for you and your workflow, for something to clue you in that, you want to make sure that you change the subtitle and alternate title here. And similarly with the series and uniform title information, I know I always want to add in the volume information here. So I just add a little number sign or pound sign, hashtag, what have you, here in the volume selection. And I went ahead and looked at both volumes I have here, and they both have the exact same statement of responsibility and contributor information. So I can leave that all the same, and I can, double check those for future versions, future volumes, to see if I need to change anything. And since I am creating this template off of a existing title record, I do have a summary here that's relevant to volume 8. So I want to make sure that I add in some sort of note to myself that I add a relevant summary for the particular volume I'm cataloging from this template. And here I already have the genres that are relevant to this material that I want to use consistent across all of them. If any future volumes have new genres relevant to them, I can always add those whenever I'm cataloging that material. And additionally, I also have subjects here available that are applicable to the entire series thus far that I have here to catalog. So I don't want to change any of these, so that these subjects will be used in the future. So it saves me a lot of time of searching for these particular subjects, and the comic books and strips subdivision here as well. And then additionally, down here in our other notes, you see I've got double language notes here. So I'll get rid of that one because I don't want that in my template, because I don't need both. But I do have, I've got relevant information of it being printed in reverse sequence, that it's a teen plus translated from Japanese, and that's going to be relevant for all of the versions moving forward. And I've got my characteristics already set up here for future versions. And then additionally, for physical description, it may change on number of pages for the next volume. So I'll just put in a number sign, and then the details and dimensions are likely going to stay the same since they're pretty standard. Got my language information. And then down here in publisher information, I may have a different date associated with the next version, maybe published in a different year. So I'll go ahead and just add in date to make sure that I change this in the future. And then also here, I've got our standard numbers. And so this is the, this will speed up the process for me in the future when I'm cataloging the next volume. I'll just be able to scan in the ISBN here to the standard number field and change that. And I'm not going to use the 10-digit one, and I will add in, I can add in qualifying information here to let me know, like, hey, make sure you change this, since I can't put, there's validation in this field to make sure that it actually looks like an ISBN, since this is the match point for enhanced content from Syndetics Unbound. That's how I'm getting my little cover art up here. So I can't just add in like standard number here or something. Because if I go in here and save, I can, but so I can add that here as well, and then it will update that it says there's no standard number in the future. So I can either add this here or leave the standard number that was there and add qualifying information like scan in. volume ISBN and add that as a qualifying information here on standard number, and then just remove that whenever I get to my next volume when I'm cataloging it. And additionally, I didn't add any classification or shelf location information for the previous volume, but if I have them standard and I want them all together in the future, I can just add those. Add in sort of the standard version of that I use. So I'll use YA, graphic novel, jujutsu, and then the volume information is what I add afterwards. So I can go ahead and save this as my draft. Oh, and I realized that I didn't change and add my little title keyword. So I want to add in template here to the beginning of my title. And so now I've got template. And since I changed that date information to say date, now that's what's going to appear in my header. So that's another clue here whenever you're using these templates in the future. You'll see date or whatever information you put in that field up here. So that clues me in like, oh yeah, when I use this template, I need to make sure that I change that information. So I've made all of my relevant changes to this particular template and it's all good. And so now I do want to go ahead and publish this template. So I have it there. So I've got my template and then I can go ahead and add this to my title space. Yeah, I do want to add it to this particular title space here that I was using. So now I have a template available to use for when I'm cataloging, say, volume 9. And so in using a template, like I just created this one. So if I want to use this template now, it's going to be a very similar process to how you create a template off of a previous one. So once you have it in a title space that you want to use, you're going to use your match again. Oh, it hasn't updated yet. Our search indexes that. There we go. Now it has. It hasn't indexed all of them quite yet, but it was able to index it quickly under the template and the format. So again, I'll come down here into review title and select copy title again. And so now I have a local copy of my template. And so I can come in here and edit this particular one to add in the relevant information for volume 9. And so I can add in the subtitle and add in volume 9. And, I've got a lot of the information here. I can copy and paste in a relevant summary for the material. That in there. And I don't need to change anything here. I do want to change this so I've got the right number of pages and then add in the date and I can change my information here. And now I can go ahead and save this. Oh, I want to add in my standard number. Yes, since I added that SN and it recognized it as not being valid, it deleted that field. So if you do want to clue you in to make sure you add the standard number, the fact that I don't have a cover art clued me in here, but if you don't have, enhanced content, you may not necessarily notice if you don't have that up there. So I can go ahead and add in my standard number for this material. I wish I had a scanner. That would make it a little bit faster, but that's okay. And so it's gonna take it a moment before it wants to retrieve that. So now I've got all of my relevant information here. And now I can just go ahead and publish my title. Come back here, grab this title, and now I have a fairly quickly cataloged new volume in the series and go ahead and add my item information here. So this really speeds up that process, the creating the template and like editing your local version. That local copy you make to make a template can take a little while for figuring out exactly which fields you want to make sure that you include and things like that. But once you have it, then it makes it much more streamlined, very similar to the copy cataloging process if you're grabbing it from another source. So that's a quick look at creating a template from a existing record in your system, and then using a template to create new versions of materials. So I do want to show you some of the other templates that we have here. And additionally, like I mentioned at the beginning, you can create templates in an external mark editor. So I know in mark editors like Bibliophile, there are templates already within there, and you can edit templates and things like that. So if you have templates that you were previously using in, say, 4X, or if you're using in Bibliophile and you want to bring them in to use them here in library LS2 cataloging within library.solution version 5X, then you can absolutely do that. Some of the things I want to note is that you do need to include actual information in some of these fields, in some of these important fields, so that the record comes in and it doesn't give you any errors. So, it's going to need to have a control number. It's going to need to have like valid 005, 007, 6, 7, 8, depending on your format. And then you're also going to need to make sure that you have relevant information in the 245. You're having things in the 264 for your publication information can be helpful. But that's the 245, and then your fixed field data fields are your absolute necessities for having that information in there. So as long as you're including those, you are all good. And just like, with those traditional mark editors, if you have a template, it creates like those sort of blank subfields that clue you in on with the delimiters and the subfields included to let you know which ones. Those won't come over because they're technically blank fields. So adding in those keywords of like edit, add, change, something like that can be helpful. And then those are, once loaded in, they'll be available to use within LS2 cataloging. So all of the other ones I have here to show are ones we've created either from, an external mark editor and brought in here, or we've created them from materials that we found here within our local, or from, Z3950 searches. So we've got a wide variety of unique items, and also some things like series for or unique types of materials. So we also have, we have a template here for a large print book that's specific to the Wheeler Publishing. And so they have, this can be helpful if you are, ordering large print materials from a specific publisher, and a lot of that information is all going to be the same. So you can easily, use a template like this for, anytime you have a new material coming in from a particular publisher, and use all that. And so that will include, it's gone ahead and included things like formats. We've got our large print in there. And then we've got, key information here of like pages, and as well as the large print designation there. And then also some of the publisher information here. And this deck does have the classification already added in. So that's very handy for future use. And something to note about all of these template records we have here is that they all do include some sort of template instructions or template notes. So they do include, letting you know to delete this before publish, but, clues you in to remember to add those contributors and roles, summaries, genre, subjects, notes, all of those things relevant for a particular cataloging a title record, just as a sort of reminder of things you would probably need to include. And then also there's some other notes here of like, if you need to add volume or alternate title, change your statement of responsibility, things like that. Some of these notes might be a little bit duplicated of information, but we've included those just as a heads up of some information that you may want to change as you use templates moving forward. And these can be very helpful for including in any templates that you create as well. And we do have the batch title edit to add a general note. So I actually added that note to all of these titles here by using our batch edit. And I was able to add a general note, and you can add that note information in here. So I can add in like template note. Yeah, here's the one I added earlier. template note, and then all of that information here, and it adds it as a general note to all records. There is no like deduping here for these particular ones. So if you add it to one record and then batch edit to that record and more, it's going to duplicate that particular note, just as a heads up. So it can be helpful if you know, have it available as either like a key bind, like a macro to add this, or you know, have it saved in a Word document or a text file or something like that. So you'd copy and paste it in here when you want to batch update a bunch of titles with a template note or something relevant like that. And that's helpful for any type of batch edit as well. So just talk about some of the types of templates here that we have. We've also got a template for relevant to a serial title. So this has set up already, you know, it's set up as a magazine serial. And we have the subscription pattern already set up as irregular unknown here. Yeah, so we've got our frequency, chronology, and numbering, all irregular unknown, which is very helpful. So you don't have to deal with any of the auto-generating patterns or anything like that. You're just able to quickly add a serial item. And you can obviously still add date expected and things like that. But this sort of like streamlines that process so you don't have to deal with changing that subscription pattern every time you create a new title record. So if you have it set up similarly where you want irregular unknown, just add your serial titles as you typically would, almost like you would be adding a regular non-serial item to a record. This is a great way to have that already set up and ready for you. And, you know, we've got relevant information in here for the particular types of things like genre. So we've got periodicals and the formats and forms already set up there. And we've got sort of like, you know, keys to the information that you may want to change for this particular title as you're using the template. So that is a look at what the serial template may look like. Again, we've got like lots of different things. I found this very helpful for sort of odd materials or things you may catalog again in the future, but may have like slight changes to them. Like for instance, if you are lending out fire sticks or something like that. So, you know, this particular one has, you know, all of the information relevant to this, you know, Gen 1 fire stick and all of that. But if you know, someone loses it, we get in we order a new version and it's an updated one, then I've already have this template record and then I can just update that with relevant information. So that's very helpful. And I've already got, you know, some relevant subjects and things. I've got my library of things genre added there. And something else to note that can be somewhat helpful, you know, depending on how you're cataloging and how you like to sort of put together your information and within a title record. This particular record uses an enhanced contents note and uses the title fields to include all of the information that's included in this kit for this fire stick sort of like, yeah, lending kit. So I thought that was very useful to be able to list all of these out. And again, this does display if you have it configured in LS2 pack. So patrons or, you know, users who are coming in and want to see that this and it's oh, it's got a travel case and it has a guide. So I know what I know that I can read that to figure out how to use it. And oh, it already comes with batteries. So that's great. And so this is, you know, more relevant for the patron. That's easier for them to see. But then we've also, you know, have classically down here in the physical description some of the details of those same information. So it's some duplication, but it can be helpful for patrons to see them more formatted as that sort of note in an enhanced contents note. And then, yeah, so we've got, you know, model information and things like that. So those can also be changed as things update. And something that often comes up when you are cataloging sort of odd materials, so you know, kits and library of things, you know, all sorts of things. So like for instance, a fire stick or, you know, a whole tool kit or a tire inflator, you know, whatever it may be that you are lending. You may not necessarily have an image for that material that can be matched with Synthetics Unbound. And so I did go ahead and I actually hosted these on a Notion site that you can publish. So that's an option for, like free, easy image hosting. If you want to be able to link them back so that you have images that display for those particular title records. And there's lots of different options for hosting images online, or hosting them even on a local server if you have one for your library, or hosting on different sites like PhotoBucket and things like that. So I just wanted to mention this because I hadn't thought about using Notion before, but since you're able to like publish those pages on Notion publicly, as long as you have it shared so that they're publicly available with anyone with a link, then you can add some images there to have them hosted online. So I thought I would just share that with you all. So that's a look at one of the more unique types of items that we've included in here. But again, I've also, we've got Chromebooks as well. So this template was built off of one I found in our contributed database. So this is a record that's particular to a Asus or an Asus Chromebook, the flip laptop, but lots of things can be changed as needed for some of the information here. So this template gives a great look at how one cataloger has cataloged this type of material and sorts of information you may want to include, like any of the operating system information, the RAM and the storage available on it and the processor in it. That could be helpful for including in a title record for patrons who may want to know. Especially if you have Chromebooks or laptops or something and people are wanting to know, can I play this video game on there? They want to know how much RAM, how much storage, what kind of GPU is in it, things like that could be helpful. And then also some other general notes included in here, including like the purchase information and the price of it and the model information of the particular object. And then the description of the information of the things included in the kit. And then also, again, I hosted these images on a Notion website. So we have a couple of odd items in here. Do you want to see one of the other useful things? Yeah, so a cart that could be helpful to have available. So this is cataloged as an object, like so many of the things in library of things. Sort of odd equipment, things like that. But we've got, relevant subjects here. Could add the genre of library things here as well. But this one has a library of things series title, which could also be helpful for grouping these together when you're using them. And yeah, so it's just got some useful information to include in there. Let me see what other useful templates we have. Here's another one for Playaway. So this is one of those like unique sort of odd materials. It's an audiobook, but it's a physical, like direct on physical medium audiobook. It's not like a CD. It's not like a digital audiobook. It's one of those like unique sorts of materials. So this can be a helpful template to have. So we've already got our contributor for the publisher, the creator of the material, but you can always add in things relevant to the instance itself, the material that it's that's on the Playaway. And then we've also got, relevant genres and subjects here. And then also relevant notes here. So of things that are included, like the set of headphones and the AAA battery required. The fact that it's a dedicated audio player, and then having space to add in your performer credits and things like that. And then we've also got, our characteristics here, have our physical description, including, little keys to show, to add how many hours and minutes of the playtime is included, things like that. And then also have our publication information. Our date information here is empty, but now could clue us in to make sure that we add that so that date shows up here in our header and in LS2 pack. We also have a blank phonogram date here because that's also something relevant to add in for audio materials. So yeah, so this is a look at what a playaway template may look like. And it could be helpful for if you are having to catalog them in the future. And some people just like to do original cataloging, and it may be required, especially if you're cataloging unique materials. This could be very helpful for creating templates for things like genealogical materials. So if you catalog a lot of local history materials that you're not going to be able to find a robust MARC record to copy catalog off of, then creating a template for those genealogy materials can be helpful, and you can create them for different how you have them classified, and for different types of materials and how you have them stored, or if you do lots of other like local archives things, so artwork, photographs, things like that, you can create templates for all those types of materials as well. So I do see I got a question here from Mary. Lost all my templates for my book club kits when we updated to 5.8. Oh man, get them back or just go ahead and remake my templates. I don't know that there is a way to get them back, unfortunately. You might be able to see if there's like a backup that has them in there. I can definitely look into that for you, Mary, because it does seem like a big pain to have to remake all those. So I will check with our support team and see if we can locate those for you on a previous backup or version, and see if we can find those and get those to you. Because templates are very helpful, especially like book club kits. So I will definitely look into that for you, Mary, because I would hate for you to have to remake those if we don't have to. So I will check into that for you. Yeah, unfortunately, I guess that may be something that happens if you especially leave them as a draft and they have to be cleaned up before you move to 5.8, because we recommend you clean up drafts. So I guess it's something to note is that, for all of my templates, I do publish them so that they are all updated. And so that those changes are saved directly to the database and are updated there. So that I guess that's something to note. Something that you want to make sure you do is that you have them published. And even if you are publishing them, which is usually something you do if you're wanting it to send to LS2 pack, but since these don't have any items associated with them, they won't show up there. So that's something to note there. And I do see Valerie asked to show the MARC view for the Fire Stick and some of the other examples. Yeah, absolutely. I meant to do that. Let me see our Fire Stick and open up our MARC view. And so here for this particular one, we've got our MARC view here to be able to see all of the information that's included in here for that thing. So we do have, we've already got our Dewey information in here. Here in the 029 is where we've got our online hosted image file. And some of the things that we've added in here, including our template notes and like I was mentioning with the contents note. So this one has a enhanced contents note with all of the different materials in there, which is very helpful, I think. So yeah, that's a look at this MARC view of some of the information in here, and I could definitely show you some of the other ones. One that could be helpful is the serial title. So this is a pretty, bare bones template. So with all of these, it is, we've got our template note in there, and we've also got some of the sort of template information. So like volumes, illustrations, blank centimeters. Things like that are all there. And again, so like some of the information in like the 008, is updated and changed based on your selections within the title editor, and those will, update and change as you make changes here. So if you are, using this serial template that has it cataloged as a English title, an English magazine, but if you are actually cataloging a magazine that's in Spanish, if you change that language designation in the title editor, it updates the language code here in the 008 and things like that. And Valerie also asks, is there any real benefit to using enhanced contents note as opposed to regular contents note? Is it just that it displays cleaner and LS cataloging? Yeah, for currently the only LS2 cataloging is the only one that's really using this new display of an enhanced contents note with that information. We do have plans in the future to add a sort of similar view, something that's more updated and more like a cleaner view of that enhanced contents note within LS2 pack. Right now, they do look very similar to a classic general, like a standard contents note. So it can be just easier if you foreseeing in LS2 cataloging of that information and separating out that stuff. It could be easier that way. Or you can just add them all in one large paragraph and add them as a basic contents note. So just either which way you would like to do that. So yeah, I do want to go ahead and highlight some of the resources that we have available and where we have those work records available. So all of these ones created here, except the Jujutsu Kaisen one that I created live during our webinar today. So all of these template records are available here on LS Community. So I will show you where all of those are. I want to go ahead and update my page because I don't know if I have updated it since it was added. So here in cataloging workflows, yes, here we go. We have a zip file here of TLT template title records 2025. So I have a zip file here that includes all of those MARC records that are in my environment right here. And also within our cataloging workflows drop down here on LS Community, we have a PDF here, and I'll go ahead and pull that up. So this is a PDF, basically a version of a written document version of the webinar we did today. So we have information all about using an existing template and creating a template and how to add templates via import into LS2 cataloging. And like I mentioned with that here on page 8, using templates using import here, it also includes relevant information about the information you want to include in that record in order for it to import correctly. And also for noting things like ebook and that it's going to show that it doesn't have a 856 because you don't have one in there for that particular record because it's a template. So it will give you that error, but it will still be added regardless as an error record. So that's something that can be very helpful if you're troubleshooting creating templates in an outside MARC editor like bibliophile and bringing them in. Or if you are a customer who was previously using LS cataloging in 4X and used those templates previously and want to bring those into Library.Solution, LS2 cataloging and 5X environment, that can also be done as well. Though you may come across any of those import errors, and this document talks about how to handle those. And we do also have videos related to creating templates with the copy title feature, creating new templates using create new title, which I can show very briefly, and then also how to use a title how to use a template rather as well. So we've got lots of resources here available, including all of those template records. And I do want to show what it looks like if you are wanting to create from a brand new title, like, do a fresh original cataloging to create a template rather than using one you already have. So I'm just going to go ahead and search that for template. We'll search for a title. And, I did get back a whole bunch, but we do, when you search for anything in a title space, we get our create new title button up here. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And, it's going to give you the heads up of like, you could search for other things. You may be able to find it under something else, but I will say create title anyway. And then since I didn't have a format selected when I was searching, I'm going to go ahead in here and choose a format. And then this has our updated format drop down with all these different ones. So if, for instance, I want to create a title template for websites that I'm going to want to include, so I can go ahead and create that. Go ahead and now do some original cataloging for this template and for all the information I want to include in here. Oh yeah, it gives me my errors because it wants me to add my language. I'll just do English. There we go. And so those are the main required fields. I've got my title, I've got language. And so now I can use this template and edit it as I need, and then use that same copy title feature from the search, match again search function within the title space to create new versions using this template. Let me see. Yes. Yep. If you do the routine cleanup of titles with no items, make sure you have a backup and mark yes, so you don't lose your templates. Yes. Very, very good point, Valerie. That's something definitely to note. Because these titles, they don't have items. So that is something to note when you are searching for them. And I will show a little bit of what that looks like. So in this version of 5.8 that I'm on, I do have our new search of titles without items. It does say it can't be combined with other parameters, so I can search. It gives me all of my titles without items here, and that also includes some things that I want to keep, like my template records. So that is a good thing to note, that templates are going to be included in these search results. So um, just I guess be wary when using this and just like mass deleting everything, because you may lose your template records and that would be a shame. So having a backup of them can be very helpful. And with the import feature, if you export them as a mark record and then you do your delete all titles without items, get rid of all of them, and then just bring them right back in. So that way you're not making sure you're not losing anything in the process. So that is everything I had to cover related to templates, how to create them, how to use them, and some of those tips and tricks along the way. Do we have any other questions related to templates or anything I've shown today related to templates in LS2 cataloging? See, I do have a question here from Valerie. If we create a template externally in a mark editor, what do you recommend we assign the control number in the 001? You could assign basically anything. Something that I've seen that can be helpful is like just using again like the word template and then one or something like that, and then you could just iterate on that for future templates as you create them. So template 1, template 2 as the 001 so that they come in correctly. So that's you could really put anything in there using a word of some sort, or put ebook template or template ebook, whatever sort of iteration you want to use can be helpful. And using the same standard can be helpful on when using something like advanced search, because in advanced search here we did our control number update, and it's probably not gonna find anything because I don't think I have anything cataloged with template as the prefix for our control number, but you can search by a control number prefix. So if you're using template for that, you can search for that, or a great instance of using that is using the OCN if you're looking for all of your OCLC records here. So that's a instance where using the same prefix for a title control number for your templates or anything that you're creating and you want to be able to find them quickly, using a control number prefix that's consistent can be helpful for that. And I see Brenda asked a question, is there a webinar on periodicals? Yes, we do have, we did a number of webinars related to serials and serial management. Here we have a whole host of um, recordings here related to both like how things show up in LS2 pack and LS2 staff, and the reports in LS2 reports, as well as all of the serial management within LS2 cataloging, and then also the FastAdd workflows and things like that. And then things specific to hybrid serials and the conversion process. So we have a whole host of information available here on LS Community. If there is interest, I'm happy, Kim and I are happy to do more webinars in the future related to serials. We know that it's going to be even easier to use serial functionality in version 5.8 by it auto assigns that subscription pattern based on what's in the fixed fields. So it really streamlines that process, and you can also have it set to automatically create things as irregular unknown. And so then you can easily add items, add serial items in the exact same way you would add a non-serial item. So really speeds up that process in the future. So there's lots of cool things coming, and we have a lot of great information available out there here on LS Community. And if you don't have access to LS Community, feel free to reach out to support or reach out to your admin at your library to then reach out if you don't have access to it. We can always get that figured out because we have so much great information and documentation on here. So that is all I had to cover today. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. And thank you all so much. Yeah, also thank you again. Thank you all so much for joining me today. This was great. And it's very exciting to share all about templates and this sort of maybe lesser known feature within LS2 cataloging and how you can use templates even still in our non-mark editor. So again, thank you everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.